Basic functions in Microsoft Excel are pre-built formulas that help perform common calculation and data checks quickly without writing complex math each time. They make it easier to analyze numbers, text, and logical condition in a worksheet. In this video, we're gonna talk about 10 functions that typically used in Excel. So, the first one that we're gonna go over is the average. So, let's say we have a group numbers 15, 27, 42, 93, 56, 84, 75, 33, and 49. If you want to find the average of these numbers, type an equal, average, parentheses, and then highlight the column of data that you want to average. And so the average of these numbers is 53.125. That's the simple way in which you can use the average function in Excel. Now, let's say you want to average two numbers. Quickly, you can type equal, average, and let's say 100 and 200, and type 100, 200, and you get 150. If you want to average three numbers, you can type three numbers, let's say a 100, 200, and 300. The average of those three numbers is 200. And so that's the other way which we can use the average function in Excel. Now, the next function that we're gonna talk about is the sum function. So, let's say we're gonna add some numbers. So, if we wish to sum the number in this list, we can type equal, sum, parentheses, and then highlight the column that you want to find the sum. And so, the sum of those numbers is 425. And just like before, if we want to, we can just sum up the two numbers. So let's say 50 and 125. 50 plus 125 is 175. You can also type equal 50 plus 125. And as you can see, you get the same answer. Now, let's say you want to sum of three numbers. Type equal, sum 100, 200, 300, and that will give you 600. Or you can type this way, equal 100 plus 200 plus 300. And this is the different way in add up some numbers using the sum function. Now, the third function is going to be the SUMIF function. So let's compare what is the SUMIF function. The SUMIF function allows us to calculate the sum of a range value. Let's say if we want basically the sum of this vehicle, we can just use the sum format. But let's say if we want to use the SUMIF format, how will that help us? So let's highlight this particular. So I'm gonna give it a yellow color. So let's say if we want to find the SUMIF of only Mazda vehicle. So if we don't want to find the sum of all this number, but just basically select the sum, we want to find the sum of certain elements in this list. So we need to do is type an equal, SUMIF, parentheses, and then we need to select a range. So the range will be the car type and comma, then the criteria will be based on whatever in the cell. So B14. And then comma, the sum range. So these are the numbers we wish to add, close parentheses, enter. It should be car type actually instead of Mazda. Now, we're going to put the word Mazda in the cell. So this time, we get the total sum of all the Mazda vehicle. So that 125, 142, and 425. And we could check it equal sum parenthesis 125, 142, 425. It will give you 692. Now, if you could change it, the Honda vehicle, it automatically common to adjust. There's only one type of Honda vehicle in this list, so 174. If you want to find the sum of all Toyota vehicle, just type it in, then automatically gives the sum of 326, 89, 274. So we can type equal 326 plus 89 plus 274. We get 689. So the sum if function help us to find the sum of these certain elements in this list rather than the sum of all these numbers in the list. So now, let's move on the fourth function, which is going to be the count function. So how can we use the count function? The count function allows us to count. If you read it, it says count the numbers of cells in a range that contains number. So we can use it to count this column, and so we have a total of 10 cells, and that contains number. So this is the first one, second one, third, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9, 10. So this time, 10 cells that contains numbers. Now, if we're trying to use it with a column data that contains number, you can get a value of 0. So that the fourth function, count function, helps you to count the numbers of cell with number. The next one is the count or count a function. And so this function allows you to basically count the number of cells in a range that are not empty. So this could be found with a text or a number. So if we highlight this cell, we can gonna count of 10. Let's say we have Mazda. If we have a number 25, let's say we have Toyota, and then 37. Then let's say it Jim. Let's say Carla 12. If we try to use the count function on this, it's only going to count two numbers because it counts 25 and 37. It doesn't count it one which contain letters and numbers. So that the count function, if we use the count function or the counter function, it will count every function that is not empty, and so it count all these function. If we try to use it on this entire range, it still gives a 6. It doesn't count the empty cell. Now, there is a function that does count the empty cell, and that is the count blank function. So notice that we have 3 empty cells, 1, 2, 3. And so the count blank function. So now you know how to use the count and count a function in Excel. So number 6 will be the count if function. So the count if function is very similar to the sum if function. It allows us to count a certain selection in this entire column. So let's change this to count if. And so this is going to be equal count if, and then we need to select the range. So this will be the range, and then the criteria, which is a cell, will be whatever in a cell B14. So notice that it tells me how many times Toyota is listed in this list. And so we have 1, 2, and 3. Now let's choose Mazda. Actually, let's choose something different. Let's choose Honda. Honda should be listed once. Now I'm going to add another Mazda to list. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So actually, let's replace Toyota with Mazda. because the selection stopped here, so I have a total of 4 Mazda car types in this list. So if I change it to Mazda, it will count 4. Now, I only have 2 Toyota vehicles in this list. So if I change it to Toyota, I will get 2. And so that is the count if function. So instead of counting all the car types that we have here, which should be about 10, if we use the count function, the count if functions allows us to count a certain selection in that list. It can allows us to count only the Toyota vehicles or only the Mazda vehicle. And so that how you can use the count if function in this example. Next up, we have our next function, which is number 7, concatenate function. So let's increase the width of that column. And let's string this back into a white cell. So how can we use the concatenate function? Let's say if we have a list of names, the first name in column B and the last name in column C. And let's write some names. So let's say we have the name John Smith. Let's say Kelly Williams and Jackie Garcia. And then we'll say Lisa Clark. And let's say David Johnson. Now, let's use the concatenate function. So, I'm going to type in equal, concatenate, and parentheses, text 1, and then comma, text 2. And so notice that it puts the information in column or in cell B2 and it connects it with the information in cell C2. And if I want to, I can extend this information. How instead of doing that, notice that we need a space in between. So to put that space, go ahead and type in equal, concatenate again, and then we'll type in cell B2. You can just highlight it and then comma in quotations. Type in your quotation mark space, quotation mark, and then comma, cell C2, close parentheses. So now it's going to put a space between column B and C. So the concatenate function allows you to basically combine the information in 2 columns and connect it in 1 column. And you could put anything in between, so you can put a space or any other data that you want to put in between those 2 columns. Now, number 8, the if function. How can we use that? So let's say if we have the name of a fruit, let's say apple, orange, lemon, or let's say banana. So equal if, so that the logical test will be based on cell B3. So if B3 is, let's say, orange, I want Excel to tell me that it's true if it's not an orange. I want to tell me that is false. So here this is false because it's not orange, and I'm going to extend it. Notice that I do get a true statement for this being orange. If I change this to orange, it becomes true. If I changed that to an apple, it becomes false. And so that one way in which you could use the if function. You can also use it to say something other than true and false. So let's say if cell B3 is 11, so for words you need to put in quotation marks, comma. Now instead of typing true, I want to type it in yes. So if I have to put quotation yes, and the next one I can type it in no, or I could say it is not a lemon. Whatever I decide to write here, it's going to replace the word false with the statement if it's not true. So here I don't have a lemon, so it is not a lemon. And now I can extend this. This one is a lemon, so I get an output of yes. Now, there's some other ways in which we can use the if function. So let's say if we have some numbers 15, 25, 50, and 84. So let's say if cell B9, let's say if that is greater than 30. If that statement is true, I want Excel to basically perform a calculation rather than saying yes or no. And so that calculation will be, let's see, if it's true, I want Excel to multiply B9 by B10. If it's false, I want it to return a value of 0, and so in this case B9 is not greater than 30. 50 is less than 30. So cell is performed the calculation that I wanted to do. That is 50 times, and I got 50. And here 84 is above 30. So it multiplied 84 by 10, giving me 840. Now let's do something else. So let's do if the, and let's start with B9 again. So let's say B9 is less than 30. So this time I'm gonna want to Excel basically take B9 and multiply it by, or rather subtract it by 10. Let's do something different. And if it's false, I want it to divide B9 by 10. So here we know that 15 is less than 30. So we have the true statement. And thus we're going to subtract the B9 by 10, giving us 5, and this is less than 30. So we do 25 minus 10, giving us 15. Now for this statement is false, so we get the calculation that involved with the false statement. 50 is not less than 30. So for the false statement, I wanted cell B11 to be divided by 10. So 50 divided by 10 is 5, and the same is true for this 184 divided by 10, 15, 8.4, and so you can make Excel perform certain calculation if the information in the cell is true or false based on your parameters. So let's say if we analyze this cell, and let's say if has two options, yes or no, so we can write in cell B4. Let's say if it's yes, so let's put the quotation. So if we have a yes entry in cell B14, what we're going to do is we're going to take the sum of this column, and if the statement is false, meaning let's say if we don't have a yes, such let's say if we have a no, then instead of taking the sum, I'm going to take the average of this column. So this is yes, which means I get the sum of those numbers. So if I type in equal 15 plus 25 plus 50 plus 84, I get 174. Now if I type in no, I'm going to get the average instead. So if we type an equal average 15, 25, 50, and 84, you'll get 43.5. So by changing yes or no, I can basically cause Excel to perform a certain calculation. The calculation if the statement is true, in this case sum, or the calculation if the statement is false in this average. And so that's how you can use the if function.
Now, number 9 is the VLOOKUP function. So that's the next one we're going to talk about. So how can we use the VLOOKUP function? Well, first, let me fill in some information. So we're going to write the name of individual, the email address, let's say a phone number, and also their annual revenue. I'm gonna have to make this column bigger and this one is smaller. So let's say once again we have John Smith, let's say Lucy Johnson, Erin Clark, David Wilson, and Ronald James. Let's say the email for this person, John S at msn.com. Let's say Lucy. Well, I don't want to do that. Let's say LucyJ at live.com. And Erin C at gmail.com. David W at hotmail.com. And finally, Ronald J at, let's say, yahoo.com. And let's fill in some numbers. So let's say this is 243 and then 125-7463. You could fast forward this if you like. I'll be done shortly, and let's say the revenue for John. Is 56,000 per year, and Lucy revenue is 74,000 per year, and Erin's revenue is 82,000 per year. Let's say David is 93,000 per year and Ronald is 47,000 per year. Now, let's talk about VLOOKUP function to look up information for these individuals. And so here we're going to have person, name, email, phone number, and revenue. So let's say we want to look up John Smith. Now let's look up his email address using the VLOOKUP function. So if you type in equal VLOOKUP parentheses, notice that you have this lookup value. And it's going to be whatever we look up in cell C8. Next, we have to have the table array. So let's select the entire table and then the column index number. So column A is not the first column because the first column is column B, because that's the first selection in our table array. Now, the email address is in column C, which is our second column that is highlighted, and the range we have two options, true or false, but we're going to choose false for an exact match. And we have John email, John as .msn.com. So if we change his name, so let's say Lucy Johnson, automatically the email address will be updated. Now let's adjust the VLOOKUP function for the next cell. So the lookup value will still be C8. The table array will be the same, and the column index number will now be column 3 for the phone number. That's column D. That the third column highlighted, and then let's choose false for an Excel match and we get Lucy number 352-452-9721. Now, the last thing we're going to look up is the revenue. So, our lookup value is still cell C8, this same table array column index number. The fourth column that is highlighted, and then let's choose false again. So, her revenue is 74,000. And let's adjust the number format. Let's click more counted formats, and then let's put currency with 0 decimal places. So here revenue is 74. So if we change the name from Lucy Johnson to, let's say, Erin Clark, we're going to get all the information for Erin, her email address, phone number, and her annual revenue. So that's how you can use the VLOOKUP function.
The next one that we're going to talk about, number 10, is the use of drop-down list. Now, the reason why this is useful is because, let's say, if you want to type in the information, if you want to, just pull the name from a drop-down list. And so, a quick and simple way to make drop-down lists is to click data and then go to the data validation, and then under the selection validation criteria, allow a list instead of any value, and then you can type in the names that you want, or you can click in this button and then select these names and then press enter. OK, and now we have a drop down list. So, that's the 10th useful feature in Excel.